We may have a guest on here that says he uses it responsibly. There may be thousands out there that are not using it responsibly. We cannot validate that without physicians being in the loop.
It seems like the whole YouTube side of this story is kind of distorting the real issue. This just seems like crazy, guys. Yeah. Frank, what do you think about the YouTube?
Personally, I think that the YouTube videos are perverting and distorting the facts of Salvia. This is one of the best God-given essences that we have on this earth.
Frank, you think you have a connection to God by smoking it?
I never said I had a connection with God. What I have seen, I could tell you from my own experiences, I've done it, I could guess, maybe about 1,000 times, okay? And I've only had a handful of times where I was laughing, but that's because of the distractions that you have in front of you. Of course you have to have a buddy system. It's only the responsible thing to do. When you go out and drink, you always have to have a designated driver. It's the same situation. They're watching out for you.
Okay, Dr. Samuels, go ahead.
Yeah, excuse me. You know, I'm a recovering addict alcoholic, all right? I'm 23 years clean and sober. I used to say the same thing as these gentlemen. As far as I'm concerned, Frank is a drug dealer. Ooh. Let's be real about this, okay? And as far as spirituality, is concerned,
absolutely not. Whenever I sell,
excuse me, Frank. What we teach at Wonderland is that we do not need a drug to be spiritual. We do not need a drug to have fun and to go out there and lead our lives. We do not need a drug. And see, it's about not having a dependence on anything, on a drug, on a drink, or anything in order to have an amazing life. That is what we stand for. And I really makes me angry when I hear people like this talking about on a national TV when there are thousands of our kids listening who are getting high on all sorts of drugs, and they are defending it. It makes me absolutely outraged.
The fact that this drug is legal doesn't mean anything. There's plenty of things out there that are very active chemicals that are legal. FDA, are you listening? Make this drug illegal.
Well, Frank, if you want to respond to Dr. Samuels' comments.
The only thing I can say, I'm not a drug dealer, and I take personal offense to that because I'm not a drug dealer. I ensure that every person, I educate fully on how to use it and make sure that they're over the age of 18. Now, if we have to push that to 21, that's more than we welcome that.
Why is everyone using it from the high schools? I mean, you can go to a head shop. Head shops all over the country are selling this.
You have to be 18 to go into a head shop.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask you, David is sitting here, and I'm watching him, and you seem very annoyed.
Yeah, I mean,
with everybody.
I'm listening to Dr. Samuels. I'm listening to the condescending audience clapping whenever he says something.
So don't insult the audience. The audience says they have their own opinions, and that's not right.
I take that back.
And some of the people, I'm sure, support you. So don't, you know.
Dr. Samuels, I understand that we all have an agenda here. You're trying to promote your treatment center, and I respect that. But to say this is the same as heroin or cocaine is completely preposterous. And last year, drunk driving killed over 16,000 people. Salvia has not killed a single person to date directly.
That's not true. That is not true. There have been a number of people that have committed suicide because of the psychological effects of this drug. So that is not true, Dave.
As someone who's been depressed before, I know you look for different avenues when you are depressed.
I have no agenda here, and this drug attaches itself to the same opiate receptor in the brain.
Frank says it doesn't. It is an agonist.
It's an agonist.
What is your medical background?
My medical background?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm a graduate student in pharmaceutical studies at Trinity University in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
There are some people that actually have used this drug to get off of heroin, which gives you an idea of how it works. It has some medicinal value. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about using it recreationally.
That's what you said backstage. You said it had no medical.
It can be used to replace heroin in certain instances. Methadone is actually better than.
And let me put what he was talking about. My brother was addicted to heroin since I was 12 years old. Since he started trying to recover, I provided him Salvia, and he has not touched heroin in 2 years.
Listen to that. You provided him Salvia like he's a physician. That's the problem with it. It can be used in a controlled manner, possibly to get some people off of heroin by physicians.
I think parents around America are going,
so
how can this Dr. Samuels, hold on just a second. How can this possibly be legal? Let's ask an attorney. Myrna White, how can this be legal?
Legal because it's been used out of the country, and it's been under the radar in the U.S. It's flown under the radar for far too long, and I think now that the FDA has to step in and get involved because this drug, it is a drug, and it's causing harm to our children. We need to protect our children.
Is there any sort of effort, any sort of legislation?
Yes, well, right now in several states, there are proposals to make the drug illegal and to ban the drug. In about 6 to 8 states, it's actually illegal.
Now, Joe, most of the people that you know that are using Salvia, are they using it to be in touch with, like making it a prayer in some way, being more enlightened, or are they just having a good time?
Honestly, I just think they're just to try it out, see what it's like, you know, get that little buzz feeling, like when you have a couple beers. I mean, it's not to the extent where you're completely freaking out like some of those videos, you know. I mean, I wouldn't take it that far.
Well, here, another thing, Dr. Samuels, real quickly, that people say, well, it only lasts 5-6 minutes, and you control that. What do you say to that?
Well, that 5 and 6 minutes is that you lose total motor skills. You hallucinate. You see things that aren't there. Could you imagine the things that could happen in that 5 or 6 minutes if you're alone?
One of the big questions, and Dr. Siegel, is this whole level of addiction. Can you be addicted to this, or can you not be addicted?
The answer is we actually don't know. So far, it has not been shown to be addictive, but we don't exactly have case-controlled trials. And since it can replace opiates in the brain, I think it has a potential to be addictive. But one thing's for sure, I reiterate what Dr. Samuels says. Those 6 minutes, you could become psychotic and lose your life, and commit suicide, all kinds of things. You could have underlying diseases that are brought out. Yeah. Bad news.
These guys, I
mean, college students are going to seek this out, especially after it's been on national TV shows and on all of the newspapers. It's already been covered. It's being covered now. It's a big issue. People are talking about it. 5 years ago,
we're not trying to glamorize it.
No,
here,
nobody knew.
We're trying to educate.
I understand. Nobody knew what this was 5 years ago, and now people do. We're going to criminalize it. College students are still going to seek it out, but instead of paying $20 at a smoke shop and learning how to use it properly, they're going to pay $200 and buy it out of the back of an Escalade. And they're going to be financing.
And that's why I don't mind talking about it on national television, because if you think your kids don't know about this, you're crazy. When we come back, meet a woman who says Salvia is to blame for her best friend's suicide.